Well, today we continue with Ken Goodrich's interview. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, Ken's wisdom is something that we all need. And as far as building a business goes, building a brand, and really just building something that no one else can build. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep watching as we uncover the secrets to building a powerhouse of a small business in the home improvement company. You don't want to miss this. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. Yeah, I often talk about the low price. You're in the bloody water with sharks, and there's too many in with you. And when you get into that clear water of the higher price, there's less competition. You know, people expect a good company to be higher anyway. We hear that often. We just expected you to be higher because they're seeing value and they're seeing quality and service, as you know. And so it's called freedom. It gave us freedom. When I took your advice and we raised our price, it's freedom. It took us out of the bloody water, put us in the blue water where all the yachts are, and we're enjoying it now.
Yeah. Let me tell you how I got there. I'll tell you a quick story. The day I got my driver's license, 16 years old, my dad hands me 3 service calls. He says, now you go run them. Get in the van and run them. Because I could repair an air conditioner by then.
Right.
So I got my buddy Bob. I pick him up. I don't tell my dad. I pick up my buddy so he can ride along with me. And so the first air conditioner, this was a springtime. We go up on the roof, and it was one of those pillow block bearing blowers, and the shaft had eaten through the bearing, all that stuff. The whole blower compartment had disintegrated. And it was an old unit. And I said, Bob, you got to go down and tell the customer they need a new unit. Because I was afraid to, right? He goes, no, you do it. I go, Bob, this is why you're here. You got to go talk to him. You're a better talker than me. So it's okay. We're 16 years old. He goes down the ladder. He says, tells the customer that, the condition of the unit, and, Ken says he doesn't recommend you investing more money in this thing. It's too old. You should consider a new unit. And Bob comes back up on the ladder and goes, hey, she says she wants it, but how much? I forgot to tell him how much. Well, I didn't know. So I said, $4,800. So Bob goes back down the ladder, tells the customer. He comes back up with a check. He said, he says, okay, I told her we'd be back tomorrow to put it in. I said, okay, great. So we pack up, we go. We go to the second job. Compressor shorted, old unit. Hey, Bob, go talk to the customer. Next thing I know, Bob comes back up with another $4,800 check. Then we go to the third job, and the customer says, hey, I was thinking about replacing this thing before you put any money in it, blah, blah, blah. How much does a new one cost? I said, $4,800. So he said, okay, well, let's just do that. So I sell 3 jobs on my 16th birthday. The day I got my license, I never sold air conditioner for $4,800 each, right? And so I go back to the shop and tell my dad, and he kind of blows his top and says, where did you get that price? I said, well, that's what I heard you charge Mr. Henderson, last week. He goes, that was for a whole house and all the duct, and it was a bigger system and blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, you want me to give the money back? He said, hell no. You just learned the first lesson that customers will pay for value, and they value us and they value you, and they're going to pay for that. And so that was my lesson way back then that has kind of kept me down that path. And I'm not afraid to make a profit. And by the way, let me throw this at you. Think about it this way. And this is what I tell some customers. Let's say that your target is 20% in net income, right? 20% profit you're going to pay taxes on. Then you pay your typical, whatever, close to 40%, pay some state tax, whatever. So you're, at the end of the day, you're at 10, 12 points, really, net. I mean, we only make 10 cents on the dollar. It's not like we're, making 80 cents on the dollar. We're making 10 cents on the dollar, even by charging correctly.
Right. Good
So
point.
when a customer comes at me and starts talking, I go, well, look, we make 10 cents on the dollar. Can I make my 10 cents? Like, do you want me to invest in your home by giving you 20% back? Because if I give you 20% back, I'm giving 10 more percent than I actually made. Right. And I'm investing in your home for some reason. I'm not that curt, but you get the point.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great lesson. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to price, people are just scared to death to charge more. And I was one of them. I'm in little Dayton, Ohio, and I didn't think I could do it. I just needed somebody to tell me, you can do it. Just do it. And I did. And it worked out well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. And by the way, talking about hanging out with the yachts and this and that, doesn't it make your team feel like the elite? We are the elite. We are the top organization in the city, right?
They're proud. They're just proud. And our sales team and our service techs, they know we're going to be the higher price. But we still sometimes we're 3,000 and 4,000 higher than anyone else, and we still get the job. Sometimes more than that. We were 8,000 higher the other day, still got the job. So it's what the customer perceives in value and if they want it done right. That's all. Hey,
how'd you get your sales guys converted?
I think just by gradually boosting their confidence. When I increased by 30% the first initial hike, and they were selling them one after the other, and they realized it has nothing to do with price. And then we increased again and again, and I think we're where we should be. We might need to increase again. I don't know, but we're almost double where we were at one time.
I love saying the sales guys, though, when they talk about well, how am I supposed to sell at that price? I say, instead of moving your mouth to say the word 10, move your mouth to say the word 15, right? I love saying that to the guys. They get a good chuckle out of it. But when they do it, they say, it actually works. All I did was just move my mouth a different way.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
So, speaking about the industry and everything, and where it's going, because I sent you a book. I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet. The Titan by John D. Rockefeller.
I've been picking at it. That's a big book, though. I'm getting through it.
It was the biggest book I ever read at the time I read it.
Yeah.
But I call you the Titan of the HVAC business world, just because you've done things so different than anyone else, but you've never been afraid to take advice. I mean, you've attended how many seminars throughout your career, always willing to learn more. I mean, what does that say? And what does that tell our viewers on, taking advice and listening to people that may know more than you?
Well, let me tell you, when I go back to my original story, my origin story, in one of those episodes, I was looking at a trade magazine one night, and I saw an ACA convention. And I mean, I was at my last dollars, right? So I said, and it talked about networking and learning, and all the good stuff that these best practice groups bring. And it was in San Antonio, and I said, I'm just going to go. So I took my last $1,000 and went, and I met some guys, older guys than me. I was 26, 27, and started talking to them, and I wasn't afraid to ask advice. I guess that's another thing. So I would just ask, you know, and I didn't have any choice. So I had to get out of the hole. I had to find the answer. So I just started talking to them, and they were open and sharing with me, invited me to lunch. And then, you know, after they started talking to me and figured out that I had a little bit to offer too, you know, we started to form some associations and groups. And that really taught me, like, look, this is where I'm going to get the meat, the best information is these best practice groups where, you know, they have some written materials that I can use to implement on my own, the processes. But the most value is the fellowship that goes on between the members, right? And, you know, you can find these guys are doing different things, and then the sharing that goes on. Hey, tell me how to run a sales department, and I'll show you, you know, how I'm running my IAQ program or something, you know. And that has really been one of my key learning methods is these conventions. And then I've just really been a student of the industry. I got really interested in it, you know, talking about I really wanted out of the business and finding your passion. What I learned was your passion is something that you're good at. You know, if you get good at anything, it's going to be a passion because you're good at it, and it gives you confidence. It gives you dopamine when you're doing it. And so I just got good at it. And the better I got at it, the more I applied myself because I wanted to be better, and I kept learning and kept learning. I went to ACA for a long time, and then I joined Airtime 500. And Airtime 500, I was maybe in my mid 30s, and like, you know, every day, you know, they would have the big meetings, right? You know, you'd go to the seminars. I'd be there 45 minutes early, and I would pick the front center seat. That was my seat, front center. I'm learning. I'm coming here to learn. And I would plan, okay, here's what the seminars things. I'm going to go to this one, this one, this one. Here's what I want to accomplish in this one. Here's what I want to accomplish in this one. Here's what I'm going to accomplish on the overall thing. I'm going to go to the trade show and vendors. I want to meet with this guy, this guy, and this guy. In other words, I'm going to invest the money and the time to go to these conventions. I'm going to plan it, and I'm going to come away with something, because it's so easy to go to those things and, you know, hang out at the bar at night, drink too much, miss the first meeting, and then kind of half-ass the whole thing and hanging out with your buddies and really accomplish zero, right? Which I see a lot of guys do.
Yeah, it's a party.
Yeah. So that's how I learned. That's how I pulled it all together. And then the experiences that I had by selling my businesses 6 times, you know, and dealing with people who know things that I would never typically get exposed to. You know, like I said earlier, acquisitions and metrics. And, you know, now I'm in the private equity world. We're dealing with big banking and big mergers and all kinds of stuff that, hey, sitting in an air conditioning shop, nobody would ever get the opportunity of.
Well, so you educated yourself a lot in the industry. Let me ask you this: where did you learn so much about finances? Because you've got a knack and you have for a while on how to leverage money and make money and all that kind of stuff. Where did you learn more about the financial side of business?
Well, you know, like I said, I've always been a math guy. I know math. I'm comfortable with math, and then that's why I studied finance. So I kind of took a lot of stuff away from that experience in college. I never finished college, by the way. I mean, I got to the point where I'm like, I'm making so much money fixing air conditioning. Why am I doing this? And I was really getting straight A's in fraternity and less grades and everything else. So I just decided I was going to move on from that. But the time I spent, I think, kind of got me there. My dad was quite a businessman and a wheeler dealer, and so I picked up a lot of things from him. And then I just got to the point where I decided at a pretty young age, I'm going to check my ego. And by the way, when you have the IRS take everything you got, and you got 2 guys and $4,000 cash in your pocket, and you got to sell air conditioners every day to to survive and to eat, your ego gets flattened pretty easily, right? So that was gone after that, and I just remained open. I try to remain open and say, I'm going to try to find value in everybody I meet, and because everybody has something that you don't know, and I'm going to try to learn from everybody and make connections. I mean, through this whole process,
You have done that still today. I mean,
yeah,
I sat across your desk and you're asking me questions. What should we do different? What are you going to do this year that someone else isn't doing? So you're not afraid. You're one of the largest. You had one of the largest HVAC companies in the nation, and you're still taking advice from anyone who knows what they're doing.
well, I got to tell you, like, I take guys reach out to me all the time. I wrote the book with Michael Gerber. So by the way, you understand, I get the E-Myth book, I apply everything to it, I build every business I've ever had based on the teachings of that book, and then 20 years later, I meet the guy. Maybe 30 years later, I meet the guy, and then he asked me to co-author the book, the HVAC book, with him.
Right.
So, which was quite an honor, right, to come full circle. And I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
Well, you're still open to take advice today. I mean, why is that?
Oh yeah, what I was going to say. So I get a lot of people calling me and reaching out to me because of the book, right? And or when I speak at some of the conventions. But I'll tell you, I don't care who I'm talking to. Guy still in the truck. Guy still working for another company, and he's planning on starting a business, and they're calling me and asking me questions and such and getting direction. But I'll learn something every single time. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. There's always some gems. Everybody's got some gems that experiences you don't have. And so I learned a long time ago, check your ego at the door. Everybody has value, and keep your ears open, and you can learn a lot.
I belong to a group here locally. It was in Cincinnati, and when I first joined, they gave me some instruction as I went through the door. They said, "Be careful what you say at this table, because you could be talking to a billionaire and not know it." So honestly, if you treat everyone like that they might be a billionaire and they might have a lot more knowledge than you could be a sponge, like you said, and learn from everyone. I mean, it's just so wise. And a lot of guys don't do it.
I was at one time I had sold some businesses. I had a non-compete, and I was kind of taking some time off. And I was going to take a couple years off, but it only lasted about 6 months. But I'm flying on a Southwest flight between Vegas and Phoenix, and I'm start talking to this guy sitting next to me, and I started buying some land, and I was putting land syndications together, getting people. We buy land, sit on it. Vegas was growing so fast, we'd wait 3-4 years and we'd triple our money, right? So I'm sitting next to this guy, and I start talking to him, and he tells me he's done real estate, so I'm telling him what I'm doing, and he said, "Well, hey, I live in Hawaii, and us, Hawaiians love to come to Vegas, and we'd love to invest some money so that we can write off our trips. And would you share the pro forma with me? Maybe we'll do it, right?" And so next day I meet him at the office. Long story short, he says, "Okay, we'll take the whole thing." I raised $2 million just from that flight. But here's the interesting thing. I said, "How'd you learn so much about real estate?" He goes, "Oh, I've worked for the Koch brothers for the last 40 years. I just retired. I was their chief analyst, and that's all I did." The Koch brothers.
Right.
So yeah, just to your point, you never know who you're sitting next to. That I'm very careful about that. I tell my son that all the time.
Okay. I know your time is valuable. Just a couple more questions. We're going to wrap it up here. But speaking of your son, I think you've taught your children a few business techniques. You want to just touch upon that? I know maybe a little bit of real estate fixer-uppers, stuff like that? Because that's good to know for people that you've got to pass this on to the next generation, like your dad did for you.
So my daughter, I've really tried to instill in my children that they should own their own business, right? They should be self-sufficient, own their own business, aspire to that. Because, there's so many great benefits to owning your own company and master your own destiny. So my daughter, she decides in the 5th grade that she's going to own her own record label. And she goes to work on that since the 5th grade. And she's, spending time in the music program in school, making sure she get in the best grades so she can get in the right college, all the stuff. Ended up getting accepted to USC in Los Angeles, where kind of the music and actor center of the universe, right? And long story short, she's the top agent in a music management firm, manages artists all over the world, and soon starting her own firm. So, I'd like to say I'd have some hand in that and kind of keep it, planting those seeds over time. But she's worked on that since the 5th grade.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then my son, who just got out of college, he's working on some online businesses, and going a few different directions with that. I've been trying to get him interested in online in stuff to do with HVAC and maybe home service kind of online stuff. But so far he's kind of choosing his own path. But yeah, they're both picking up being entrepreneurial, which I really appreciate. And I think it's very important to kind of point your children in the right direction. Certainly, where you've had challenges like I have, make sure that they don't fall through those potholes.
Okay, last question. Besides the famous question of what question should I have asked you, what's next? What's next for Ken?
Well, I've moved to chairman of Gettle, and my new partners have put together a new leadership team to take it to the next level, which I'm proud of. This is a place where I guess every entrepreneur ever wanted to be, right? He's built a company, it's scaled, it's got a great brand. It has a very nice cachet in the industry. And now he can sit back with a highly accomplished leadership team and watch it grow and live off the benefits, the fruits of that, right? So I'm doing that. I'm certainly involved in the board level conversations and everything every month, and kind of steering the ship that way. I'm currently rolling up another industry. I can't disclose it right now because I've got some non-disclosure agreements going, but let's just say this time next year I'll have a pretty sizable business in a different but similar kind of industry, and I'm going to do the same thing that I've done over the years with air conditioning. I've built and sold 6 companies with over 40 branches. 6 major brands with over 40 branches over this tenure that I've been in this business. So I'm going to go out and make sure I'm not just a one-trick pony, and see if I can do it in another industry. And I'm pretty excited about it. But hey, when I'm ready to make the announcement, I'll come back on the podcast and we'll talk about that. It's probably something you'd want to do too.
Okay. And what would you like to end with as far as what could you tell the guys? And we could have guys doing 50, 100 million listening to this, so I don't want to put a cap on people. But what are your last comments on this show of advice that you can give the guy grinding it out, trying to get to that next level, whatever that level is? What would you say in the home service world?
Well, number one, I would say you got to be part of at least one, if not several best practice groups, right? If you're not in a best practice group, you're never going to figure out your own. You can't rely on hiring people that, came from this company and that company and had some title that they were a general manager, or this or that, because most of our competitors didn't do that right in the first place. So guys that have titles without the proper training and the proper organization and governance, they're just guys who with a title that don't know what they're doing. So you got to be part of a best practice group. There's a lot of great ones out there. If you're a smaller guy, I like the ones that are more hands-on, where they got a coach and you got a routine about it and they hold you accountable to grow. Service excellence, for instance, where they have these coaches. If you're past that, you have the fundamentals, the other bigger groups, the Next Stars, the Airtime 500s, the Praxises,
Right.
are, you got to get in. You got to get in one. Always, I think that every HVAC contractor should be a member of ACA, Air Conditioning Contractors of America, because one, they kind of represent us in Washington. Not to mention they've wrote the book on how to do it. And hey, all I've ever done is, in terms of putting my processes together in terms of how to do the work, is I've taken the ACA processes and made them mine and documented them. And that's what we use and train and use those checklists and such. So you got to get in a best practice group, but get one in where the operators are serious about your success. Like, you can really tell this is going to be a grind and they're going to make me work and do what I'm supposed to do. Not the best practice groups that are just raw groups and you're going to come out to a meeting and get pumped up and go back and do nothing. Don't do that. Right. So I would say best practice group. Next thing I want to tell you is this. Like we talked about earlier, times are going to change. Times are changing, but you can't cower. You just got to go at it. You just got to go at it harder. You got to make every single thing count, and you'll survive and you'll thrive. A lot of your competition is not going to take this advice, and they're going to shrink and they're going to wither, and that's the place where you take over. So you should look at this time as an opportunity, especially young guys who want to grow. This is the time when you can really make it. Most people make all their fortune in down markets.
Right.
So this is the time you go. Do not contract. Another thing I want to tell you, there's lots of different ways, to pick up some business that you can be a little creative with. Like, home warranty is a dirty word to most of us, right? Most people don't like home warranty. I ran into a guy recently. I started talking to him. He converts 30% of every one of his home warranty calls to a $14,000 replacement sale. 30%. That's better than the typical lead gen, pay-per-click or anything else. And he gets paid to run the damn call. He's converting 30%. And I thought, wow. And so he's talking to me like, how do I scale it? So I said, well, the most important thing is you can't let the warranty company believe that you're just eroding their customer base. So in your sale, you buy another couple of years of home warranty for that customer inside the sale. Make sure the home warranty company knows you're doing it and you're cementing that base. But if you can continue to convert at 30%, I'm recommending everybody go get some home warranty calls. Another thing is, you can have the same conversion rates if you go to Home Depot. You'll be a Home Depot water heater install contractor, for instance. You're getting in the home, and it's just a different way of getting into the home. You're getting paid for it. It's not the kind of money that maybe we experience on a retail call, but at least you're getting paid for it. You're covering some costs. You're keeping guys busy, and you have an opportunity to make a new customer, a new friend, and you go out and get them that way. Another thing is, we started having this conversation earlier about some of these online wholesalers, right? Retail, I don't know, I guess it's retailers where they're selling the equipment. Well, those guys, need installers. And, we don't like that kind of business, right? We don't typically, it doesn't fit our model, but how about this? Lots of guys are laying off installers right now because they don't have any work. Why wouldn't you go make a deal with some of these online installers and say, hey, listen, I'll dedicate, 3, 4, 5 crews if you can pump business into my market, and you go ahead and put it in. At least you guys are bringing in a couple $3,000 gross profit dollars a day, which is not bad. You can make money at that, and you're gaining a customer, and you can sell ductwork, and you can, all the ands. So the low hanging fruit is gone. It's time to climb a little higher. How's that?
Absolutely. Finding opportunity where no one else is looking.
Right.
And that's what you did most of your career. So Ken, thanks so much for being on my show. I'm honored, sir. Honored to be your friend. And when you get this other thing going on, we'll have you back on the show. But thanks again, and take care today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. And thank you for everything you do for the industry. You've been, like I've told you, I sought you out because I was watching you from afar, and I've always learned from you. And I think everybody listening here needs to understand the value you bring. And so thank you.
Appreciate it.
See you later.
Thanks. And that brings us to the end of this remarkable series with Ken Goodrich, the Titan, a true industry icon for sure. Ken's journey from owing the IRS money to making $300 million is incredible. And I hope this helped you in your journey. Whether you're a small business or a big business, you can learn something from everyone, especially Ken. If you found Ken's story as compelling as we do, be sure to hit like and subscribe below. Head over to Facebook and Instagram and give those a like as well. Join us next week as we talk about the John D. Rockefeller. And until next time, have a great day. Carry on. God bless.